Estimation, that's on the front, that's $232 million. So what does this mean? This means that if we somehow made the TIFs go away, blew them up, blanked them out, canceled them, and you took all that money, that $1.7 billion that I mentioned to you, took that money and pushed it back to where it came from, on a ward-by-ward basis, this ward would get a checkbook with $232 million in it. Could you use that money here?
Yes.
Could you think of some projects right now that are needed done in this community? Not just in this area right now where we're sitting, which is kind of flush, but all across the world. In parts of the world that aren't doing so well. Any schools that were closed nearby? I think so. Schools that were cut? Vital projects and programs in your schools that your children rely on, whether it's after school or English as a second language, or if God forbid you have a child with some learning problems, that there was a counselor that was taking care of that child, gone. Okay? Well, it doesn't get any more basic than that, in my opinion. When you're talking about the essential operations of the city of Chicago and the services that you rely on every day to make your lives better and meaningful, these are trade-offs. Somebody gets something and somebody loses something. That's what's going on here, and you need to know these things. That's why we're doing this for you. All right, so we're telling you that there's $232 million somewhere that came from this ward sitting in accounts. That's another thing that nobody's heard before tonight, courtesy of the TIF Illumination project. So that's the meat of the details of the ward. Just a summary of what I'm telling you. 12 TIFs extracted $60 million. They spent about $80 million. So there are things happening across the ward that money's being spent on from the TIFs. You had transfers into the TIFs of about $42 million, and you transferred out about $41 million. The Department of Planning took about $2.5 million from it for its operations. And as I said, at the beginning of this year, you had $232 million of your money sitting somewhere in some accounts. Now, there's a great organization called Blocks Together, which is undergoing a very interesting process. They wrangled $2 million from the Chicago Central Park TIF in a participatory budgeting process. So they, through 7 years of organizing, have gotten their hands on $2 million of this money that we're talking about. But that TIF had $68 million sitting in its account at the end of the year. So good on them that they managed to grab $2 million of it that they're going to vote on. But what about the other 66? That's not on the table. But I have to give them credit for at least being able to wrangle $2 million out of the $1.7 billion that's sitting. So some citizens have got their hold on $2 million out of $1.7 billion. That's what we were talking about. These are the projects that I mentioned that have been funded. One of the nonprofits that caught my eye in this list is the Jesse White Community Center.
Amazing how that works.
Over on Chicago Avenue, which is going to grab $10 million of your money.
15.
Oh, it's gone to 15. There you go. So up to 15. And again, what's the process there? How is that decision made? Is that a good use of your taxes for the Jesse White Gymnasium on Chicago Avenue?
I've got some info to add on that one.
Yeah.
And so I've got three that I really wanted. First, I'd like to thank Tom and his group. He's doing this all volunteer basis. Tremendous community effort. So I wanted to dig into a few of these that I put in some time and research on that people kind of told me there was issues on and things to dig a little bit deeper on. One is the Jesse White Center, which Jesse's done a great job serving the state for many, many years. I think the process with the Jesse White Center and the funding is a bit concerning. I've got a handout, hopefully Mrs. Galli will pass it out. So originally what happened in 2011, Walter proposed a $5 million TIF to fund the Jesse White Center. Jesse White Foundation was going to come up with $5 million, and the Park District was going to come up with $5 million. What happened is, shortly after that financing arrangement was it appears that a new deal was struck, and the $5 million in TIF funds increased to $10 million. So we've submitted 2 FOIA requests. We haven't got any information back, but I did print the original news article NBC produced, as well as the actual ordinance presented by Walter at City Hall, and I think it's on the 3rd page where it increases the $5 million TIF to $10 million. Well, I think we need a lot more youth centers in the city. $15 million, all from public funds. It's a big concern. We're trying to see. What I've learned is there's a lot of the same contractors, zoning attorneys. It's always the same players on all these TIF-funded projects. It's not hard to see the pay-to-play politics, especially when it comes to this TIF funding. So I want to drill down on a couple of facts that I found. Again, that is regarding the Jesse White Center. It was supposed to receive $5 million in TIF, $5 million from the Park District, $5 million from the foundation. I've heard rumors that the foundation couldn't come up with the money. So Jesse's protege, Dave Walter, said, no problem, I got you. I'll increase that TIF from $5 to $10 million. So it appears to be all $15 million funded from our taxpayer money. And that's in the near. That's a good question. So Jesse White was a committee man for many, many years. So Walter's always been the alderman, but Jesse White was a committee man. And for some reason, back in spring 2011, Jesse resigned committee man and gave it to Walter. So for many, many years, Walter and Jesse have been tied to him. Walter being the alderman, Jesse being the committee man. I'd like to welcome Senator Ricky Hendon for joining. Good friend and brother. Ricky was a former alderman at 27th before he actually was state senator. He could probably shed some of the politics that happened in this ward. But Jim, to answer your question, so Jesse's the Secretary of State. He's been Walter's mentor. He was the committee man of the ward until spring of 2011, which there's plenty of rumors why he resigned that. You guys can research on your own. I'm not here to start the rumor mill. But in any event, he resigned it right before the TIF funds were approved. And he also resigned pretty much right before an investigation took place from one of the members from his organization. So we'll see what happens with that now. But to answer your question, yeah, he was a long-term committee man, Secretary of State, Walter's mentor. So if you look in there, you can see the original proposal, NBC 5 broken down, $5 million in TIF funds. Not sure what happened in a few months, but apparently that $5 million was increased to $10 million. So it appears that $15 million of public funds were used. Again, we've submitted a couple FOIA requests and not received any information. We will diligently keep working on that. A very big hot button issue in the West Loop that Tom touched on is the Marianos. The $7 million wasn't given to Marianos, it was given to the developer named Cy Taxman. Taxman's a very, very wealthy developer, lives on the North Shore, is based on his bio, has developed billions of dollars in commercial real estate. I would assume most of you guys are familiar with the West Loop. The Marianos is right on the corner of Madison and Monroe. Probably one of the hottest corners in the city. I mean, what is it? Allston, I'm sorry. I would think one of the hottest corners of the city. Here it is. We got it right here. So, I was not at these community meetings, but I have seen videotapes and they were not pleasant. The community strongly opposed using TIF money to fund this project. And it just shows what good citizens we have in this community. Everyone loves Marianos. We all welcome having Marianos in the area, but we all knew that that $7 million in TIF funds could probably be used better off on the near west side, or some of the areas where it's designed to be used. Not the corner of Halstead Monroe. And actually, I got another article. So I've got another article that shows the financing breakdown of the Marianos project. What really stuck out to me is Taxman received a $7 million TIF grant for this project, and he himself only put in $5 million. So this was this big development. I think he only held on to it for about a year and a half, and then he flipped it for, I'm told, a large profit. It's not public record. So he put in $5 million of his own money, and his buddy Walter gave him a $7 million contribution from all of us. And what's ironic is, if you look at that article passed around, his TIF was approved, I think, spring 2011. Shortly after that, the man that needs some TIF money to help make his project financially feasible, he goes and gives a $2.5 million personal grant to the University of Chicago. I believe it's a hospital. So a man that's begging and pleading to get some of our taxpayer money, we give him $7 million, and shortly after that, he makes a $2.5 million personal contribution to the hospital. So I think, I would like to see my name and everyone's name on that plaque that shows his name, because that contribution is really from us.